So I'm not feeling very smart. I just recorded like 10 minutes of footage and I didn't even hit the record button. Okay, great. I am actually recording this time. Hello everyone and welcome to my part of the channel. First of all, I want to apologize for not uploading last week. I've been having a lot of personal stuff going on and school isn't really helping because, you know, next week is the last week of school and I'm just filled with things. So I asked Eze to, step up, help me out, and she did. So thank you for that. Today's video is an introduction to Hector, the one and only culprit of my madness. Hector was my first reptile, and this is the story of how she got in my life. The reason as to why I wanted a reptile in the first place was the fact that my brother was going off to university. For a little bit of context, we're both very, very close. He's my best friend. You know, we have a really good relationship, and him leaving the house would just, leave everything very empty. It was really hard for me, I'm not gonna lie. A couple of weeks after he got accepted into university, of course, we were all ecstatic, right? But I was very sad because I didn't want him to go. This was 2017, the same year I got Hector. So I was researching about them. I stumbled upon them on YouTube through PetTubers, and I decided that I really liked leopard geckos and that I really liked crested geckos. At that point, I really wasn't thinking about buying one. I just wanted to research them because I thought they were very cute and I thought that they were very cool animals. So I did. I researched them for about a year, and once my brother had gone off to college, I asked my parents if we could get a reptile. Of course, they were absolutely against the idea at first. They thought it was absolutely ridiculous to have a lizard as a pet because, you can't interact with them or they can't show affection, which is completely false, by the way. But after a little bit of nudging, they were okay with the idea, and we decided that we would get a gecko. One of my dad's friends owns a pet store. He really doesn't run it, but I guess he kind of manages it every once in a while. So my dad asked him if he had crested geckos or leopard geckos, and he did have both. So we ended up driving over to the store and checking them out. Long story short, if we bought it there, we'd get the gecko and an enclosure for a cheaper price. But we get there and the entire pet store is disgusting. It reeks of fecal matter. There was a parrot just flying around everywhere. The ferrets were in a very small enclosure. There were 2 scaleless bearded dragons in an enclosure with about 3 inches of sand, and that's all they had. They had shed everywhere. To the right there were a couple of geckos. So there was a gargoyle gecko with a spine that was so crooked. Of course, I get there and I'm already a little bit freaked out because I'm like, if these are the animals that they have on display, then what are the ones that they don't have in display? Hector was one of them. She was inside of a wooden closet, inside of a Tupperware, in the complete darkness, no heat, no light, and a bowl of dehydrated crickets right next to her. I saw this and freaked out. My mom thought that it was completely normal because, she didn't really know much about geckos. Since I wanted to buy her, because I was already invested in trying to save this little creature's life, I asked to pick her up, and she was ice cold. Like, you don't understand. She was freezing and she was very lethargic. She wasn't moving. She was very thin. So at that point I was like, I can't leave it here. It's gonna die. So I asked my mom to buy it. When we're buying it, they're supposed to give you a little receipt or a certificate that you bought it and that it isn't exported or, illegally obtained. So they signed the little paper, Eublepharis macularis, the date, the place, and that it was a male. So at that point I was like, okay, just give it to me. So how the store worked is that you bought it and then they would come to your house and deliver the animal with an enclosure, right? So they get to my house a couple of weeks later, and I was sick at the time, so I didn't really see how they set up the entire thing. I didn't really see how she arrived to my house, but I did see the enclosure. It was a pretty big glass enclosure that had a 3D background. It was good, except for the fact that it had 2 inches of sand at the bottom. So I saw that and I completely freaked out. I remember having a 38-degree fever, being kind of delirious, and still scooping out the sand from the enclosure and vacuuming it out because I didn't want her to get impacted or anything. And for the first couple of months, she had paper towel as a substrate so I could see what she was pooping out, if everything was normal, the typical new gecko kind of stuff. And that's basically how I got Hector. A couple of months after that, I brought her to the vet, and it turns out that she was actually a female. So I wasn't going to change the name, right? Because I'd had her for 6 months and she already knew what her name was. So I just kept it as Hector, which is kind of strange because I'll talk about her and then call her Hector, and people will just look at me like, what's your problem? So let's talk about her a little bit. She's very docile. She's very sweet. She's very non-aggressive. What I like about her is she's just so chill about everything. Like, I'll just pick her out her enclosure and she's like, oh, I'm here now. And then I'll move her to my bedroom and she'll be like, oh, I guess I'm walking on a bed now. Or I'll just sit her on my shoulder and she'll just kind of stay there. She might walk around. But that's basically all she does. I love her attitude and the fact that she basically has none. However, it's kind of funny that sometimes people will try to approach her when I'm not around and they'll try to pick her up and she'll just scream. Yes, she is 70 grams. She is a normal morph, I believe. Of course, the pet shop didn't really know what morphs were and they didn't really tell me anything. They were just like, yep, that's a leopard gecko. Go on your way. So yes, she is very, very cute, but she really isn't the smartest. I have to tongue feed her every meal, but I don't really mind. What I do mind, however, is the fact that I grew an entire dubia roach colony for her and she doesn't eat them. I have over 100 roaches in a Tupperware and she won't even bother trying them. So of course my parents are completely delighted about the fact that there's a dubia roach colony in their laundry room. So yeah, those roaches are kind of chilling in my house and there's nothing I can do about it. So what does she eat? Morio worms. She will only eat Morio worms. I don't know why. Before she used to eat dubias, before she used to eat any other type of insect, crickets as well. But no, she just eat Morio worms. Her metabolism is very strange. You know that some reptiles will refuse food when it's winter, right? And she did refuse food for like 5 months and she only dropped 3 grams. So I don't really know what's happening inside of her. So yeah, that's kind of it for now. That's kind of the story with Hector at this point in time. She was the push into my passion for exotic animals and my love for animals in general. So yeah, thank you very much for watching and I'll see you on the next time.